We are currently ranked number 108 marketing podcasts in the world, and in the marketing category. And so, if anyone here has been enjoying it and hasn't left a review, would super appreciate if you go to Apple in the podcast and just leave a quick review. Would be super appreciative as we continue to grow both the podcast and hopefully like what we do here together and keep that going. So appreciate you. The next one is that this is actually going to be a very special episode in the history of Demand Gen Live. The reason being is that we have decided to break this show, I guess is for lack of a better way to say it, show into seasons. And so this will be the finale of season 1. And the plan is going to be to introduce a new co-host for season 2. And Gaetano will be able to come back and be a guest, and he might actually come back for season 3. But just wanted to let everyone know that we're going to kind of switch it up. We've been doing this for about 6 months. I've loved every minute of it. And in order to just keep the content fresh and keep it valuable for you, we're going to kind of make some pivots. So with that said,
if the ratings tank, I'll come back. I'll say what everyone's thinking. If the ratings tank, I'll come back.
It might be like 3 episodes into season 2. It's like, gee, come back, we need you. Cool. So I got the post up over here. For those that didn't see my post, essentially, people are rolling through here, so I'm a little distracted. Essentially, the post was I had finally started to connect the dots as to, essentially, my company doesn't have any customers in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, which I thought was fascinating, given that we serve B2B SaaS organizations and they live there. But we have pockets in I would call like secondary hubs: Toronto, Chicago, LA, the greater Phoenix area, New York City, places like that, and then a couple in EMEA. But the point of the post was it was really interesting because I've talked to those companies and have basically just run into a place where they only believe in MQLs because it comes down from the top, and the top starts at investors and then the board and then the executives and then to the marketing team. And so the marketing team like has pretty little say in this whole thing. And I'm like, if we start working together, I know that you're getting 3,000 MQLs and they're really not, going well. But if we start working together, the common thing is that you're probably going to end up getting 200 demo requests instead of 3,000 MQLs or whatever the number is. And they basically just never come and talk to me again because I scare them away. But gee, I want you to riff on your kind of comment, because I think it adds a lot of value for people's understanding. I got a couple of messages on the post, a couple from VCs that were like, "You're right." A couple from CMOs that were like, "I'm so grateful that my board doesn't do that, but I know CMOs that have to, go through this bullshit every month." And so, yeah, just going to open the floor to you on that one.
Dude, that is an awesome way to kick off Demand Gen Live. So, wow, that's an atomic bomb, right? And it's more big company shit. I think if you're a smaller company, startup, maybe, Series A, you are not really faced with this problem yet, but it will come. It's coming as you grow. So let's talk about what happens when you're publicly traded, or if you're on the path to becoming publicly traded. What happens is there needs to be forecasts. There needs to be, what the incremental growth lift could be in the next 6 to 12 months. They want 6-month roadmaps. They want forecasting. So then what happens? They look at the big picture, they zoom out, and they say, all right, let's examine the entire funnel. And they break it up from, cookie to contact, contact to lead, lead to proposal, proposal to sale, sale to close, right? And what they say is, and sometimes even the sales managers, sales leadership will get clouded judgment by the rhetoric from the executive level, but they'll say things like, hey, marketing, we need a way to predict, we need a way to predict forecasts. We need predictability on what pipeline and lead flow might look like in the next whatever many months or quarter or whatever. And we need more MQLs, because if we get more MQLs, then that means we'll be able to create some sort of conversion rate based on nurtures, your favorite thing, Chris.
Our conversion will be the same. And so if we can just double our MQLs, we'll double our revenue.
Exactly. If we can get more coming in at the top,
yes.
We can create this formula of conversion rate based on nurturing and lead scoring. So they think of it more in this way that it becomes this predictable machine. You've had people like Aaron Ross talking about predictable revenue and stuff like that. So it's a system that's been bought in, heavily bought into. Now, do we want to pause here?
Yeah, I mean,
let's pause.
I think the key take home for people, because like we shit on MQLs enough, we can kind of transition here. But the key take home for people, and what Gaetano said, and I'm going to misquote it because I'm not going to read it right here, but it was that truly great demand gen bypasses all of that bullshit. And
yes,
you just like forget everything from cookie to, first contact from a sales rep, like all of that stuff. You don't need the MQL. I continue to think that companies, if they are so aligned with marketing and sales, that they should have one definition, not an MQL and an SQL. It should just be a demo request and an SQO. Like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So let's talk about how things can go wrong in this kind of situation. So one way it can go really wrong is by how companies arrive at the definition of what an MQL is. And what they'll do is they'll say, well, I think demo request is an SQL, but free trial request is an MQL. They might do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so what will happen is a lot of commingling will happen with that bucket of what MQL means. It might mean content download that opened up 2 emails and maybe clicked one automated link from those emails, got quote unquote promoted.
It's like the lead old fish stew. Like just put all this garbage together and mix it up.
Yeah. And so I think companies that offer like a free trial and a demo experience and pricing requests, there's a lot of different CTA conversion points throughout the site. They muddy those. And so what comes with that is this confusion around, how do we really track predictability if MQL is mostly, labeled as free trial, which is commingled with other types of conversions. So it becomes a real slippery slope. And I think the mentality that you and I are promoting, Chris, is just forget about all that. Do all that stuff for good brand, good education, good marketing. Consider it mostly brand. And then when they're good and ready, they will come to you, raise their hand, and say, I'm ready to talk to someone through either hitting up a rep on LinkedIn or submitting a demo request form or going to the pricing page and saying, yes, I want a customized quote for my project or whatever it is. So I think the anxiety stems from when sales reps aren't busy enough, when they're not talking to enough people really early in the process. I think companies would rather have their sales reps have the illusion of being busy by talking to a lot of people that aren't ready to buy. They're at the very, very early stages or like not interested at all, just so that they can say shit's happening. Just so that they can say that, yeah, the wheels are in motion, things are happening. We're creating, this mechanism at the top. But you could just say, forget all that. Let them, use content engagement and consumption metrics as a measure of success for a lot of that top funnel stuff. And then let them just come to you when they're good and ready so that your sales cycles are shorter, your deal close rates are better. Sales reps are not wasting their time talking to people who aren't ready to buy or who maybe will never buy. So it's just this philosophical, I hate to use this very corporate and horrible word, but paradigm shift. Take that, Gartner. Eat my shorts. On how this whole thing is supposed to work.
Yeah.
So let's pause there and allow for reaction.
Yeah. I mean, I do this for companies to illustrate what it looks like, and anyone, whether you're live or if you're listening to this afterwards, you can do it, and it's going to help you make your case. And so what I do is I go into Salesforce and I create a report of first leads, however they define it, and then I break it down. So the x-axis is the source, and then the y-axis has 2 bars. The first one is number of leads, and the second source is, or the second bar is number of people that converted to an opportunity. And you can just look at the disparities there to give a sense of what's happening. Then the next one, which is really interesting, is I will take all of the opportunities that got through that funnel, and I will look at the opportunities, and then I will put the exact same chart with the source on the x-axis, and on the y-axis, the first bar is going to be close won, and the next bar is going to be close lost. And you're easily going to see, when you look at, here's our trade show bucket of opportunities. Here's our demo request bucket of opportunities. Here are the content downloads. Here are the free trials. And you're going to be able to see, one, the percentage of won versus lost, and second, the relative volume of the opportunities. And it's going to quickly show you what you're trying to do, and what will happen with anyone that does this, because it's just like how buyers buy. You'll be able to look and see, okay, whatever my main CTA is, it's typically a demo request, as long as you're not product led. The demo request is going to have the best win rates and the most scalability. And so why wouldn't you spend your energy there instead of on the content downloads that make no sense, that just like close at a super low rate, and barely any of them get through from lead to opportunity. And so that's a like action for anyone that's going through this. I think you could take that away and put that chart together in like 5 minutes and show it to your CMO.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, man. It just really is a slippery slope. I've done a lot of the shit that you said.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've shown the numbers of, look at the amount of quote unquote MQLs that never become anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a 70-80% like drop off rate. It's like really bad. And you know what a lot of, like, I hate to even like use this like way of putting it, but like old school mentality people, you know what they say to that? Oh, so the ones that dropped off or didn't become anything, there's still opportunities. We need to nurture them. What's our top of funnel nurture going to be?
Mm-hmm.
So then you just become, all right, so now you're just annoying people.
Yeah. So let's pivot right there, because we have the topic on the agenda. We'll kind of go out of order here, but so let's walk people through the agenda is the better way. So we have these people that are, for whatever reason, in the database, right? So like they downloaded a content asset, they were closed lost 6 years ago, but they're still in there and they still work at the same company. Whatever those people are, what is the better way to nurture, for the ones listening, that was in air quotes, to nurture leads in a long sales cycle? What are the things that you could do that, and let's just sort of eliminate, and we won't spend time like tearing down the stuff that's happening. Everyone knows what's happening today. Everyone knows that it doesn't work. So what are some creative strategies that people could use, or maybe some that you're implementing right now that people don't know about?
Sure. So Chris, you and I are very alike in that when tactics work on us, we really step back and analyze why that is, because not much of it works. In fact, very little of it works.
Mm-hmm.
Almost none of it works. So what's worked with me as a buyer of technology is that companies have realized that, perfect example, 6 Sense. They have been hitting me up pretty hardcore, like, you should just talk to us, just let us show you what we have to offer, all this stuff, and out of just pure curiosity, I said, sure, because this is something that is heavily talked about widely in our industry. And I've been very vigilant about staying away from all the shiny new toys, but let me just see what the hype's all about. Let me just see. So I start off the call with them, letting them know I'm nowhere near interested in this thing. This is purely for knowledge. You know, don't get your hopes up. This shit ain't happening, right? So I go through the demo. It was interesting. It wasn't mind-blowing, but it was interesting. And what happened after? Sent me a follow-up email. Thank you so much for your time. I wanted to give you some resources. I hope we can keep in touch if that's okay. I'm like, yeah, sure, you know, whatever. I didn't read any of the resources. So what did they do to go accelerate that deal? They went after our CRO.
Great way to kill a deal.
Well, it actually worked. It worked.
Man.
It worked, yeah.
I'm shutting that shit down if you try and go around me.
Yeah, they try to go around me. They hit up all the senior leaders at my company.
This is weird too, because I hate to interrupt you, but it's really interesting. Like 6 Sense should be selling to the sales leader, not the marketing leader, in my view. Like that's where it's being used. I don't know why they're continue to try and sell the marketing.
Oh yeah, there's this false, like, I don't know what it is, this false like love affair that demand gen controls everything. There's this false sense of reality within the world of B2B sales that demand gen controls everything, which is not true at all. So they go around me. They go and hit up all my C-level like colleagues, and they're like, hey, your competitors are using us. We showed this to your demand gen leader, and he said it's not of value, or something like that. Like they used me as the bad guy, and then they said, you know, if all your competitors are using it, why wouldn't you guys want to use it? Aren't you concerned that they're getting more advanced than you? They're using better technology. They're getting better access to all the juicy leads, right? And so my CRO took a meeting with them, and then he loved them, and he loved it. And he said, man, if all of our competitors using this, we're not, we must be, you know, in the Stone Ages here. And so he then basically propelled this project forward. So it didn't necessarily work on me. They didn't use any nurtures. They didn't use any special marketing tactics.
It's just
it's just sales. There was a couple, there was a couple banner ads. I never clicked on any of them. I barely even looked at them, you know, whatever, they're a name. But all it is sales. You know, win back campaigns and stuff like that. There's no one special marketing blast email trick that's going to get people suddenly reinterested. It's literally keeping in touch with who all those prospects were at the sales level when you lost, you know, the momentum, and just finding ways to stay relevant. That's literally it. So I don't know what else I could say about this other than it's just sales.
I got a couple on these that I think is, I don't know, you decide whether or not they're good, but there's some things that have been working for me. The first thing is that when the deal is lost, I'm going to pretend this is a closed loss deal, that somebody, instead of moving it to closed loss, they put it in nurture for whatever reason. Because that happens a lot. I don't know why. And so it goes into closed loss. At that specific point, your relationship with that person is human to human, not sales rep to human. And so like at that point, I'm trying to be their friend. Like I'm outside of sales mode. Like, I think that is a really interesting thing that people need to get over. A couple things that have been working. First one, should share the podcast. I've already done that. I've already told people about that one, but try and get them into a consistent flow of information that's different than email. Like, that's just it. Like, try and figure out how to get into something that's different. The next one that's really interesting is, if they're the decision maker, how about you have them on your podcast? That sounds pretty good too. You get to learn more about them, build more of a relationship, do different things like that. Maybe during the podcast, you discover that they are, their wedding's coming up in 3 weeks, and then you go into their registry You find their registry and then you buy them a gift for their wedding?
Chris, I don't know, man. This is too much manual work.
This doesn't scale.
This doesn't scale. How am I gonna be able to predict my pipeline for the next quarter with this? There's not enough velocity. We need, pipeline velocity. This is not going to do it.
Ultra confused. Very confused. Like an interesting pushback that I've been getting that I will completely debunk right now is that the things that I do are not scalable. That the idea of me sitting here with you, with 41 of you, which is awesome. I love being here with you, that this use of my time is a waste of time. I completely disagree with that. 100% disagree with that. What people would say is a waste of time and that it doesn't scale. How I've been doing it for the past 12 months and it scales. It scales in awareness. It scales in pipeline generation month over month. It scales in revenue. It scales in audience size. I'm very confused how people would say that some of the things that that I'm doing are not scalable.
Can you use the podcast in your 9-month, 18-touch automated sequence to close lost nurture?
You could send them the automated email, but then odds of them getting into the podcast from that are super low. So those are some ideas. There's a blend there for the marketers in there. Like a lot of that is actually like a sales responsibility, but I just wanted to throw out a couple of different ideas. The real key is moving out of sales mode and moving into help mode. Cool.
That's such a gem. That's such a gem. Just to hit on this one last time. After I have said, no, I'm not interested, like whatever, so many smart reps have figured out that is the time to become my homie. Because I'm not in sales mode anymore. I'm like, just whatever. And a few guys have done a really good job at this. There's this guy named Jonathan Rosenfeld. He's he's at Twilio now, I think, doing demand gen or something. But he was a guy that was trying to sell me like those, ebook lead gen services a while ago at his previous company. And I'm like, dude, I don't think you get it, man. Like, I just don't believe in that shit. It's nonsense. Like, there's nothing you can do to get me to believe otherwise. And he was like, nah, man, you're right. I feel you. Like, he even admitted it, being someone like coming from one of those companies. And then he was like, I'm actually trying to get out of the game myself. I feel like it's a dead road. Like, he was able to realize that that's what I will connect with, real shit like that. And we became cool. So he's also a musician, and he threw that in there, which helped, of course. But like, to close off on this, that moment in that relationship between you as a sales rep and the buyer as potentially a marketer or someone else, like, as soon as they say no, that's when you can really play the long game.
Right on. So I know we got a couple people international. We got a lot of people US. It's something that I encounter a lot pretty much since the first day I started doing demand gen. Actually, let me rephrase. It was the first day that executives realized the demand gen I was doing was working, was the first time I got this question, which was that, how do we do this everywhere in the world? And so I want to just kind of get it started here. The topic is scaling a global demand team. And so the thing to recognize is that if you are a global organization, then the second that an executive sees this work in one country, they're going to want to immediately do it in every country. But here's what they're going to do. They're going to give you no extra budget, no extra people, and all this different stuff. And so that is the situation. Like, I've had 10 companies probably over the past 5 years try and do this, and this is exactly what happens. And so the first key in the way that I think about this is I highly encourage you to not scale globally until you have maxed out your number one market, which is mostly going to be North America. Like, I target US and Canada at the same time for the most part. And so like North America is going to be the major market. And a lot of marketers get confused and think that they have maxed out their results in the US where when they have barely scratched the surface, and then what do? They go and start marketing in the UK and EMEA in 6 different languages and get distracted, and the whole thing falls apart. And so the first key is to have it super operational in the US, and to know when you've kind of reached that point of quote unquote diminishing returns and it's time to scale. The next thing you need to do is I almost immediately, once I start to see something work in the US, will almost directly copy and paste, no localization, no anything, in 2 or 3 English speaking key markets for that company. UK, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, maybe. Those are some of the ones that you could do, just to see. And if you have enough, if like for some of the companies, like there's no lead flow in the UK, and then you go and turn on ads, and 3 days later you have 6 demo requests, and you're like, oh, spend $600, I guess it works. And so that's kind of like the easiest way to test, is like the only thing you're doing, you're taking the exact same campaign, blah, 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 and just moving it. This is mainly from a media execution standpoint, just to be clear for the listeners. Then the next thing is to figure out how you're going to scale if you're moving into languages, right? Like some of the key markets are going to have language differences, and then it starts to get really complex. In a media execution, you need a different website. If you're truly a global company, you should have the languages in the website for your key markets. A lot don't. But you're going to have to localize a website, whether that's on a subdomain or a microsite or whatever you want to do. The ad copy's got to get translated. When we run ads, we're running like 10 to 20 different variations. So you got a lot of different translations and copy and different things like that need to go on. My key point here is that when you move into different languages, it gets like exponentially more complex when you're running these things. The goal here is that you can do something in one market and then essentially replicate it in a different country. And my recommendation is that the people in the US, aside from like English speaking countries that are not, that need super localization, but besides those, that you almost build a team that localizes into the other languages. And so, a lot of times it can be one demand marketer, right? Like you're doing something in the US, and then you have someone in Milan, Italy, that's like moving it into Italian, and managing the website and doing those different things. I did this when we were targeting Brazil. I just built a little microsite, got the content that I was driving people to, translated the ads, started running them in Portuguese, and predominantly on Facebook, and absolutely crushed. And so like it's a major lift to scale. I know Gaetano is going to have a great point of view on this one, but if I just want to like summarize my key points, it's like, make it really work in your primary market first. Really work. Second thing, expand to other English speaking countries that have no localization barriers that are material. And then the third, resources, more budget, other languages is the way that I've done it so far. And that's and just to be clear, that's if you're a US company that does not have like an office in every other country. So you're a US company and you're just trying to sell to other countries. So I'll pass it to you, man. I'm sure you have a ton of awesome insights. We've never jammed on this one, so I think it'll be really interesting.
Dude, that was an awesome summary of I think actionable ways you can think about expanding beyond some of the core markets that you serve. And I agree with all the points you made. That was awesome. I've actually done this before at Pipedrive. It was really difficult, man. Really difficult. 13 different languages.
Mm-hmm.
So
my point exactly.
Yeah. So doing SEO in Brazil, Portugal, Spain, Mexico. So there were, and a lot of Latin American markets as well. So and I didn't do some of the crazy stuff. Like they had Russian, they had Estonian, because Pipedrive is an Estonian company. Random fact, I've been to Estonia like 20 times. So it was really challenging, actually, the content localization. So we did have a localization manager for each of these languages, right? So that was a big deal. Getting the hreflang tags correct was challenging. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, basically there's a meta tag that you can implement in your source code that basically will tell Google the relationship between translated URLs. And you just got to make sure you're careful, because there's also something in SEO called the canonical tag, which a canonicalized URL is the URL that Google recognizes when it crawls the web and finds your page and puts it into the index. So you have to get technical SEO right when you're doing international localization and scaling, because it's if you get it wrong, you can potentially, de-index a whole language of content, or you can have a lot of duplicate content issues. So that's a big portion of it. But in terms of like the thing that Chris said about distraction, if you try to like do too much in one area without having the basics or the fundamentals mastered in your core language and your core market, I think you are going to struggle big time. And we saw this at Pipedrive. I think we were trying to do a little bit too much. They were thirsty for, for growth in some of these markets like Portugal and Brazil, because they saw some great success with the little bit that they had going on there. So they wanted to ramp up, and it was just so tough, man. Just like, translating every post into Portuguese, link building and local citation building in Portugal. It's tough, man. Some really powerful URLs can rank in multiple localization zones. Like some English content can rank in the UK and stuff like that, if a lot of UK based companies will backlink to it. But overall, I mean, there's a million different ways we could take this. I think my summary of my rant was, technical SEO is very important. So watch that. Think about the way you want to go about the localization process, like with hiring. If you want to have a localization manager for Portugal versus Spain versus Italy, I personally think that's a good way to go. And then making sure, like Chris said, you're actually doing great SEO and great paid media and great branding and great affiliate marketing in your respective home region. That is the primary, ideally the primary, way that the company makes money.
And then the way to figure out how important a country really is, like, let's pretend Poland. Like, and we can figure out how important Poland is to say, in order to expand this to this country, what we're actually going to need, the amount of target market in Poland is about 5% of what it is in the US. I'm just making that up. So about 5%. So I know we're spending 100K in the US. So we're going to need 5K ad spend over here. And we're going to need a demand marketer that's local. And so if you want to get started, whatever the list is, you can make it up depending on the sophistication of your organization. But in order to even get started on this, we're going to need 30K a month. And then you figure out with the executives how important that little tiny, I don't know the size of Poland, I don't want to say that, how the third or fifth priority market really is. Because and I mentioned this before, I just want to hammer it home for maybe there's a couple executives listening to this. They all want to do all of the countries and add no resources and no money, which doesn't make any sense. And so I think we have covered that one. Hope that was valuable to people. That was a topic that Gaetano and I jammed on for a couple of minutes last night on the phone and thought it would be useful for people here. Whether you're going through it right now or it's going to happen if you become successful in the market and you have, the executive's attention and you sell globally, it's going to happen. And just having the insight to know how to handle it and how to tactfully push back and in what sequence of things that you should do things is super important. I didn't know it the first time I went into Brazil. It took away budget. It took away a ton of my mind share. It took away the team that was working with me. It was just, it was a great experience, but I just wouldn't recommend doing it that way. Cool. The next one. And then, or we can kind of, there's one other that I definitely wanted to hit on, but we can kind of pause and go into Q&A, or we can keep going. I'll put it in gallery. People go Thumbs up, Q&A, thumbs down, or yeah, thumbs down, keep rolling on the agenda. Thumbs up, Q&A, thumbs down, keep rolling on the agenda. All right. For the people that voted agenda, it is. We got some people in the middle. All right. So G and I are going to keep moving. All right. Next one on the agenda. Why enterprise companies don't publish pricing. And so, and just to kind of, I'm going to let you take this one because I think that you have a good point of view on it. But just to get this started, I think it's really fascinating given, and I'm not, Sahil Mansouri has been posting about this a lot. I really respect his, how he has been communicating these types of issues. This little thing about not publishing pricing on your website is a stem of a much larger issue, which is that companies are seller-centric. And so this, in his point of view, and I agree with it, is that, over time, people that sold at car dealerships hid the price and used it to get buyers into the store and rip them off and charge them higher than they should and do all these things. And then TrueCar came along, or what all those different things are, and now the prices are there. And I know because I literally just did it today. I was looking at two enterprise social listening tools, and I go onto their websites, and neither have prices. And so I go into Google and I search blah, blah, blah pricing, blah, blah, blah pricing. And the first thing says starts at $4.99 a month. And I'm like, if it starts at $4.99 a month, why aren't you publishing it first off? And so, and then obviously you submit the book a meeting form. There's no calendar link. Nobody answers you for 24 hours. The next day, some person follows up with you with no calendar link. You respond straight away and say, here's my calendar, book the meeting. Still hasn't responded. It's like, I'm out. I'm so done with this. Anyway, that was a little rant, but I'll let you take this one. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, that's brutal. I've had similar experiences, and it's, it's really just, it's unfortunate. All right. So what are we talking about here?
So why don't enterprise companies publish pricing? And it's not like we talk about enterprise and maybe we can go in that direction, but like some companies that sell to SMB don't publish their pricing, like $199 a month. It's not on their website because they're scared. It just doesn't make any sense.
All right. So the enterprise companies not showing pricing and stuff like that. So there's a couple of different perspectives. When you go to a really nice restaurant, I'm just going to throw this out there. Right? Got a really nice restaurant and you see like, let's say we're an Italian restaurant, seafood, right? And, you've got prices attached to certain things. So you've got, the shrimp linguine is, this price, and, the fettuccine is this price, whatever. But then you see something next to the grand lobster tail called market price. So you don't really know what the price is, but it's something really good because it's market price, because it's such a good quality thing that, just whatever the market demands it is what it is. So it's good value. So everyone they know like, wow, this must be really good. There's no price associated to it. So companies have kind of adopted this similar mentality that if we don't put price, people will just start to think that we're really high quality and that, we're going to be expensive, and there really isn't going to be this sticker shock thing, right? Like, we're just going to wow them with our quality, and then price shouldn't even be part of the discussion because we're only going after the enterprise creme de la creme buyers who don't care about price anyway. So that's where the argument comes from, not putting a pricing page or not putting pricing, of hiding pricing. It's a perception thing more than anything else. But now, what kind of problems do you have that come with that? Let's break down the problems. Problem number one, without putting any ballpark of what pricing is on your website, you are going to have all sorts of unqualified buyers, putting in their, if you're truly going after that big of a clientele, which is the creme de la creme, enterprise businesses, then if you don't put pricing, you may allow any type of buyer that's not qualified to actually become a customer because they can't afford you. So a lack of a pricing presence may even encourage people who can't afford you to sign up because they have no idea what the ballpark even is. Are we talking 10K? Are we talking 40K? Like, they don't know. So then the SDRs end up talking to a lot of people that say, all right, so how much are you guys? And they're like, yeah, we're like 50K.
The SDRs aren't allowed to tell them. Let's be honest.
Yeah, they're not allowed to tell them, all right? But like
until the second meeting.
Yeah, it ultimately comes out though that it's 50K, ultimately, right? Oh, I thought it was gonna be like maybe 10 or 20, but wow, like 50, damn. All right, nah, I mean, we don't really have budget for that, like, sorry. Oh, okay, well, keep in touch. Let's nurture you, right? So you have that as a bad side that comes with no pricing. The other bad thing that happens with no pricing is you are left out of the pricing conversation. They are searching your brand pricing, and guess what? Some stupid competitor who made a X versus Y brand competitor versus page is going to find your pricing model on there anyway, or they're going to find it on Capterra.
And then they control the narrative. Whoever publishes that page controls the narrative.
That's right. So you actually are putting your whole everything is at major risk by you not controlling that conversation. So I'll leave it at that for now. We can keep going, but those are my two big thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna take this in a slightly different direction, just for the sake of it, which is that let's look at I'm truly fascinated by the SMB company, the one that their entry level price is $199 a month, and they don't publish it. And I've been an employee at a company like that, and so I know why they don't do it. There's a couple it comes down to, and it could be a combination, or it could be just one of them. The first one is that they don't have enough confidence in their product to justify the price, and so they think that if they publish the price, it will actually scare people away, which is sad. The next one is that we want to have our sales reps having more conversations, so they need to have the price. If they want to buy our product, they need to talk to our sales reps. If they want the pricing, they need to talk to them. And that's probably the most common across the entire spectrum of price points. Like, that one is the most common, and we need to have the opportunity to demonstrate value. Our reps need to demonstrate value before we would ever tell someone the price.
Wow.
And so
that is wow.
And those are the things, like, and so those companies will adjust or slowly, lose market share to someone that's quicker. Like, I am super confused as to why companies do not make that transition. It ultimately comes down to the fact that as any buyer on this planet that's buying B2B stuff has been educated and trained by B2C for the past 10 years about what it's like to buy something. And over time, like you see it happening in the car industry right now, over time, very large purchases will happen this way. And so they're starting to get trained on, if I want something, I want it now. Like, if I want pricing, I want it right now. If I want a demo, I want it right now. If I want to buy it, I want to be able to put my credit card in and buy it right now. And companies create these little walls that slow people down for no reason.
Dude, that is so true. True story. I remember when the coronavirus was striking hard and the markets were crashing. I said, oh my gosh, I need to put like a lot of money into gold right now. So I woke up one morning and I said, you know what? I feel like just putting $10,000 into gold ETF. And I usually never talk numbers and shit like that, but I want to just be super real with you guys and just let you know that it was a good decision, big decision. 10K is a lot of money. I'm like, I want to put this into gold. I really feel like this is a great time. So I needed to open an Ameritrade account fast, because I usually trade on Robinhood because it's just like easy and basic, but like I wanted to do something like really big. So I needed to open an Ameritrade account fast, and their process was so good that from that moment that I wanted to do it to the moment that I actually bought the shares, it was a combined time of 30 minutes of like having the idea to actually completing a successful transaction of purchasing shares online of gold ETF in less than 30 minutes, because their process was so easy, integrated with my bank, like all that, like the instant deposit, boom, man, they made it, boom. How many companies have that going on?
I'll call out both of these companies. I was on the internet last night at 11 p.m. Two brands, Brandwatch and Digimind, on both of their websites. If either of them had a buy now button, I would have already bought their tool on an annual subscription. And neither has even gotten back to me. We're almost 24 hours later. I don't have a meeting on the books. I'm, starting to look at the lower cost tools just to have something. And so like, I just don't, I just don't see how companies haven't figured this out. Like, I really don't. Okay. Let's
add one more really interesting. I just got to close it out with this. This is huge. This is an atomic bomb. So I was once working with a company that didn't expose their pricing at all, right? And lead flow was good, right? Lots of sales conversations are happening. I'm going with this. They take the pricing, they add a pricing page actually, and they actually put transparent pricing. And sales lead flow went like way down because the pricing page was actually doing its job. It was disqualifying in advance, the non-qualified shoppers. But now sales reps again are less busy, so that illusion of things that are in motion is presented when these critical parts of demand gen are tweaked. Like you can see directly when the movement happens, right? Based on the buttons you push and the levers you're pulling. So that kind of just hammers home the point. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to think about. Like, just let's just pretend you have 100 leads a month, and then you publish your pricing page, and it drops to, actually, let's make the scale bigger so that it makes more sense. So let's say that you have 10,000 leads a month, and then you add the pricing page and it drops to 2,000. So you've eliminated 80% of the unqualified buyers from your lead pool. Then a lot of companies are like, oh, our leads went down. If you shift your perspective on how you see it, you see, oh, well, now we just have 2,000 qualified buyers and we only need 20% of the sales reps to get the same actual impact. And I think that that's a really interesting debate for companies to have if they think about it that way, because the other 80% is just spending money doing stuff.
I feel like sales leaders would really disagree with us on this one.
Totally.
I don't know what it's going to take to I don't know what it's going to take to open people's eyes to
good demand
exactly.
It really is. Like the sales leaders that are against that are the ones that carry the entire weight of the revenue because they don't have a demand engine, right? And so if you put a demand engine in that actually works, you get a lot of respect from the sales leader, and they understand that they maybe don't need to carry all these people and activities in order to get to their goal, because they don't need to carry 100% of the number because marketing's sending them 40 or 50%. And that's how it changes. Cool.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. So maybe last one on the agenda. We'll see what happens. And then I really do want to get to some Q&A. I got a lot of thumbs down, so we'll kind of keep rolling here. And I think this one will be fun, mainly because like I don't really have a perspective on this one. We're still trying to figure it out. I'll be 100% transparent. LinkedIn stories was rolled out slowly. I think I got it like last Thursday or Friday. essentially have just been a consumer of it for a little while. Have not seen too many people use it any different than what you would see on Facebook and Instagram. You know, selfie video, talk about a little bit of stuff, you know, promote your thing. But in terms of like good creative execution, the only company that I've seen that's done a good creative execution so far in this is GE. However, all they did was just take the stuff they made for Instagram stories and move it onto LinkedIn. So let's just have a caveat there. But actual like good creative execution, have not seen that there. So there's two things that matter to me in this one. The first one is if you believe in the differences between the psychograph of someone that is on LinkedIn versus one that's on Facebook or Instagram, then the idea is that you actually have to change the content of what's being put into LinkedIn. And so if you believe in that point, you first realize that, okay, I can't just do what I was doing on Instagram, which is the place where I'm in right now. And then the next one is that you got to figure out a way to, I'm always looking for a way to use the channel to do it in a little bit of a different way. You look at my video production on LinkedIn, like I was talking to someone the other day, like I think there are less than 10 people that put out video as consistently as me on LinkedIn as long as I've been doing it. And so I'm trying to figure out what that is in the story format.
Yeah. I mean, dude, first of all, I commend you on it because I know that shit takes a tremendous amount of time. And in fact, I've been very absent from the LinkedIn game lately because, quite frankly, I'm just busy getting results. So, you know, but, you know, it's very hard to actually manage a team, you know, stay on top of the pace that you want to run at in terms of marketing execution. I'm a big believer in speed. And so LinkedIn becomes a bit of a roadblock in your speed because you have to actually detract focus to away from your core sprint, your core marketing execution goal, whatever. And you have to devote time to brand building and, you know, LinkedIn and stuff like that. But to answer the question of, have I seen anyone doing it well? I would say my friend Eric Sue, he's doing LinkedIn stories pretty well. He's just promoting his podcast, but he's recycling a lot of the same stuff from Instagram over. So no shame in that game. I think that's fine. I think that, you know, LinkedIn, they don't have the swipe up for a link feature.
They don't have most of the good features that Snapchat or Instagram have.
Yeah, they don't have most of the good features yet. So, you know, I guess they're probably just testing it out. But what I really wanted to point out was that don't get too brainwashed by the whole LinkedIn game. And Chris, in a way, you're feeding into what they want. You know, they want people like you creating addicting content so that people keep coming back to feed the advertising engine to people like you who are doing ads. So it's insane how that works. That whole, you know, hamster wheel of you're creating the addiction, then you're marketing to the addicted.
Nobody here is going to stop that train. That train is far along. So
nobody.
You know, you got two choices. You can get off the train and you're not going to get to where you want to go, or you can get on the train.
Yeah.
And so
exactly.
That's just the black and white. It's like people are out there having their lives changed by just doing stuff.
Yeah. It's don't hate the player. It's don't hate the player, hate the game. And actually and actually what it is don't hate the player, hate your shitty ass ads that suck and don't get people's attention. Because I've seen countless ads on LinkedIn that all look exactly the same. They're that, you know, kind of static graphic with maybe a stock image with some generic copy, get a demo, you know, nothing really too exciting, nothing too enticing, nothing that really captures your attention. Verizon was the only company lately that got my attention with a really good ad. It was literally upgrade to the 64 gigabyte, you know, iPhone 12 when it comes out, get one free. Shop now. White background, nice, beautiful looking phone, nice text, nice font, beautiful. I was like, wow, this is masterful. It's so simple, but so elegant, yet it stood out. So that's my take on it.
Cool. Anyone got a question? So like let's get something deep. Like we can go and dive into, you got G and I here. We can dive into whatever, business thing that you're working on right now. So I've got it on gallery mode.
Hello.
All right, Prince, you're in. Let me figure out how to coordinate. I can't get out of gallery mode now. Here we go. We're in. Let's do this.
Okay, sweet. So I was speaking to someone who's a very senior marketer, also a board advisor for a marketing education program. Well, they happen to mention that, I got a level set with you, Prince. Marketing only converts 2% of whom all you market or sell to. I'm just curious what kind of experiences you guys have had, what insights you have, so that I can then bring this podcast back to them. And I'm like,
So just to make sure I'm clear, the statement that was made was that only 2% of leads convert to customers, or
well, so
what
we
was
were,
it?
yes, yeah. So we were comparing, I did a revenue model for different revenue streams that we have for a product platform that we've done a soft launch on. We're working towards a corporate launch, but then I told her that, for different revenue streams, we assess different conversion rates with our CFO. So like certain were at 3.81, and then there's an innovative product we're thinking of it as 18%. And then to that, their comment was, I got a level set with you. It only converts 2%, regardless of what all trends you see from your competitors, from other products in the market. You got to reach out to more people. And then of all the people we reach out to, you will only convert 2%. I didn't quite agree, but then I was like, sure, we'll try it. But I'm just curious. I'm putting it out to the forum.
Yeah. So if I understand the question correctly, then my point of view in this is the first thing that we need to distinguish is this about the leads that marketing creates converting to customers, or is it based on the source of the lead, or is it based on the product that's being sold? Neither?
Well, our conversion assumption was based off of the product, because we compared similar services and products in the market. From a marketing perspective, from a product marketing perspective, it was based on the channels that we go to and we source people in.
Yep. This is a common mistake that I see across all companies, is they say, whatever the number is, 2%, 1%, 5%, that no matter where they came from, no matter how we got in touch with them, that it's going to be 2%. And so if you actually look, the product that's being sold is going to have some type of average. It's going to converge on something. But if you look into the different sources, there are companies that I work with that have a demo request that convert at 12% to customers, and they're running and then they're doing ebook downloads that convert at 0.05%. And so it's about how the buyer gets to you is the number one driver to whether or not they become a customer. More important, in my view, than the actual sales execution, as long as the person doesn't mess it up, is how they get to you. And so is the average 2%? You can figure that out with your data in your business, but the idea that you take that 2% and you can just like scale it out is a fundamental flaw in how a lot of CFOs look at stuff.
Let me clarify. Sorry, this was a CMO that was sharing this with me, and I presented what the CFO and I had as an assumption towards how much would be convert based on the different revenue streams. Just wanted to clarify.
Lead to customer rate of 18% is unrealistic in my view.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll go ahead and validate that with some experimentation.
Yeah, if you, I would love to have you prove me wrong. But the highest I see across like 25 companies that we both work with and audit is like 12.
It may take a year, Chris. It may take a year, but I'm full on Barney mode, like challenge accepted,
Cool. Yeah. Would love it. Okay. Max, you got a good question here. This is actually something that came up today in my work with a client. So Max, if you want to jump in and ask this question. This one's kind of quick, and it's probably an easy one for me, G, and then maybe we close out on the hiring part of the agenda that I think is super cool. Cool. So I'll ask the question for Max. I'm not sure if he's still here or not. And so it says, oh, he's here. Great. What's up, man? Good to see you again.
Hey, too. Yeah. So just curious if you guys are doing anything different with Facebook now that they took away that 20% text like maximum on the images.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to write a paragraph in an image now, just like more copy space. That'd be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just curious.
Yeah. So I'm not sure when they officially announced that, but we've noticed that since February, March, that like we were publishing things that are clearly outside of their requirements, and they were still letting them run. And so we've been letting this ride for the past like 6 months. What it does is it gives you a lot more flexibility on the side, in my view, the size of the impact text, which I think is the way to stop people in the feed and get them to consume the rest of the ad, both the headline copy and the body copy, and then decide whether or not they're going to click and do whatever you want them to do. And so I think it opens up a lot of flexibility for ideally less than 7-word, like bold, large impact text. And then you can have creative like design and different things like that. So the easy example that I give to people is like you're selling a product to CFOs and it's like close your books in 7 minutes instead of 7 days. And like that would be the text. And then maybe there's like a little UI screenshot and a little bit of branding on the side or something like that. But you can, 20% of the requirements was not a lot. Now you can basically take up like the whole thing. So I think there's a lot of flexibility there. That's the one that I've been leaning toward. Like paragraphs is, open to testing. I think that you should test that if you believe in it. I haven't personally tested it. I've never thought about doing it that way. So would love to maybe have you back in a couple weeks and you can report back on what you found. But that's, I think it just opens up a lot of creative flexibility. Facebook's getting pushed to do that stuff because LinkedIn has no text requirements and display has no text space requirements. And so I think Facebook kind of got squeezed in because people essentially just make creative for every platform and just like don't even understand the nuances between them. And then so I think they were losing out on a lot of revenue by not having that strict requirement. I'm happy that they changed that.
That's awesome, dude. By the way, have you dabbled with a tool called SparkToro yet? Rand Fishkin's tool?
I've been playing around with the I think you get like 10 blah blah blahs free, and so I've done it a couple times. I don't understand it that deeply. It seems cool. Obviously, I love Rand; he's great. And so yeah, that's the extent of my testing. It's on my radar, but not something that I'm actively looking at.
Cool. Yeah, I gave it a spin the other day. It was actually really interesting what it gave back to me. I was looking for a very niche topic, and I was looking for specifically podcasts in that niche market that were the most relevant to my audience and to what my audience listens to based on this set of Twitter followers and this set of keyword recognition. And it actually gave me some really good like podcasts in a niche market that it would have taken me a really long time to find those. I spit them back out to me in like less than 30 seconds. And then if I want to go and sponsor some of these podcasts or get my CEO placed as a guest interview on those podcasts, I can do that. So it just saved me a lot of manual research time and seemed to be really good, relevant results. So for like one-off use cases like that, I think it's a great thing to add to your arsenal of advertising tools.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So we'll hit the last topic on the agenda. If any questions that we didn't get to today because of the finale, then feel free to just drop them in with my email or LinkedIn DM, and we'll get to them in the future episode. This one, kind of, I'm just kind of looking for your advice. And so we're actively recruiting for 4 roles right now. Director of Demand Gen, senior designer, UI, UX, social ad, stuff like that. demand gen manager, paid media specialist. The one that is, and you know where I'm going with this one, the one that's by far the hardest to hire is the director of demand gen. That is for all of the SaaS companies listening here, that is a really tough job to hire for if you know how to evaluate it. And that's really the challenge, because there's three tiers of the people that interview for me for the director of demand gen role. There is the people that know that know how to use the lingo, but don't know how to do anything. There's the people that know how to use the lingo and kind of can do it, and there's the people that really know what they're doing. And I encounter, if I had to break it up, it's more than 50% in the first tier, probably 35, 40, 45% in the second tier. And then there's like this little sliver of people that are excellent. But I just want to like let you riff on this, because for the people listening either live or on the audio recording, like this is a legit career path. Like if you really look at the people that are good, the supply is so low and the demand, no pun intended, is so high. Yeah. And over time, I am 100% sure that the salary of this role, that I interview people and they're looking in the 150 to 200 band for this role, and the salary role of this job, director of demand gen, VP of demand, inside of 100 million ARR SaaS company or above, is going to be 400 or 500K within the next 5 to 7 years, because it is such a rare role. They're going to pay as much as their top software engineer.
Yeah. It's nuts.
And so, I just kind of maybe talk through like, and I actually chatted about, I'm just going to keep going. I'm sorry. I just have one more thing.
No, I mean, you're hitting every great point.
When I was really thinking, I was like, why, why is there such a low supply? And here's my point of view on it. If you look at, and it's really interesting, because if you look at the talent, and this is not an ageism thing, so if you just please don't take it that way, but if you look at the talent that I encounter here, it's in a very specific age band for director of demand gen roles. It's from like, I think on the low end, 28, 27 to like low 40s. And here's why I think it is that way. For people that were older than that, they were too far along in their career when this evolved that they actually didn't do a lot of the actual work to learn how to do it. Right. And so like those people were already, senior director of marketing, VP of marketing. They weren't getting into this type of stuff. They already had a model. And so that top band, and then the smaller band or younger band are people that just haven't had enough time to develop. And so there's this really interesting point of people where they were at a point in they're at a point in their career now where they can have, they have business acumen, they can have executive conversations. You have to be at that level, and you would have been doing the work when this got introduced, which started in like 2007. And so like it's a real, if you look at all the dynamics, it's really interesting that there's like this moment happening for demand marketers. And then even if you look at the people that have been doing it during this period of time, there's quite a lot of people that are just doing it the way that they learned how to do performance marketing in 2011. And so I think those are some of the dynamics. When I look for this role, there are two key things that I'm looking for. It's, could you go into a board meeting and present your ideas and push back on the head of sales that says something? That is the hardest thing to hire for in this role, if you want to be a director of demand gen. The second thing is that you need to understand both the strategy and you have to be able to do all the tactics. And so, G, just wanted to lay this on you, because I know that like obviously you're one, and to be fully transparent, like I've tried to hire you more than once, and you can't, like, and so I would love for you to share your thoughts on why you think this is happening.
I mean, dude, that was an amazing. First of all, I'm flattered now. My head is so big, it's not even going to fit in the Zoom screen. but thank you. We've, we've talked about it, like so many people have said, Chris and G, you guys need to just work together. It makes so much sense. Like it would really just be the dynamic duo of, a lifetime. It would be epic, right? There's no question about that. But the reality is, Jordan and Pippen didn't just form. You know what I'm saying? Like Jordan had to go do his thing at North Carolina for a while. Pippen, he had to do his thing. He had to bounce around. And then they became teammates later on, and it was great. So, that's kind of the situation here, right? Like I am a highly loyal guy to my company, Nextiva. They are highly loyal to me. And the reality is the top demand marketers are very happily situated.
Mm-hmm.
They're not trying to bounce around. They got a good thing going. They're well taken care of. After like 6 months, you should be really in a full stride in your demand gen flow with your team and your company. In 2 years, you should be, that's what we're doing right now. We're in the Tour de France. Like we're on that, like we're going hard right now, like hard. Team of 8 full-time, highly sophisticated demand marketers. It's a beautiful thing to see. I feel like sometimes I'm like a symphony orchestrator.
That's how I feel a lot.
Yeah, that's how I feel a lot. So, the top demand marketers are happily situated.
Mm-hmm.
So the only real way to find them is, and they're often not even the ones commenting on your posts, right? Because they're too busy. So you have to go out and find them. You have to identify the ideal type of maybe customer that you would want to work with and see, okay, is there a potential for some of the key people I might want to hire working at these companies, or like they super elite, like what kind of company stage am I looking at in terms of what to look for? Now, I'll give you some traits about myself that I find to be true in the best demand gen marketers. Trait number 1, agency experience, previous agency experience. Very, 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 very good sign.
I'm 100% on the fence that like I am 100 times better demand marketer over from the past 18 months of my experience working with dozens of companies at once. I really do believe that but I think there's a key is having the experience in both, because it's very different. But yes, I agree with you. Keep going.
Yes, 1,000%. So agency experience, phenomenal. Second thing, startup experience. If there is agency experience plus startup experience and they've lasted, oh man, you're onto something with that. Now, if they've got a side hustle, some kind of entrepreneurial spirit about them, I've checked the box there too, right? My musicianship side.
Me too. I see people taking notes. This is great stuff. Yeah.
Right. So that is another component to the ideal person you want. The other component that is very important, very, very important, is they must really truly be a specialist in at least 1 or 2 channels. Ideally 2, but at the minimum 1. They have to be a subject matter expert, really insanely good depth of knowledge of 1 aspect of growth marketing or demand gen. If all these 4 criteria are met, you have a T-shaped marketer, agency experience, startup experience, they lasted through it. What was the other thing I said? A side hustle of some sort. If all those 4 conditions are met, the chances of you finding who you need are going to be very good. And then I think the final thing is like the types of industries and companies that like that marketer is really good in working with. So me, for example, I work great with companies that are around Series B, Series C, have some money to play with, have some resources to play with. They're kind of in growth mode. They have
sophisticated enough to have the stuff that they need.
Yeah, that kind of shit. But more importantly, like they believe in search marketing, and search marketing is a good opportunity for the company because that's the best skill set that I bring. I probably wouldn't go work for a company that had a 90% outbound sales demand creation ratio. I probably wouldn't go work with a company that was like so niche and crazy expensive enterprise that it's all about ABM and shit like that. Like I probably wouldn't go work there. So you also have to find a marketer who can actually fit the profile of someone that knows how to work with the kinds of customers you want to get. So I think if you can find all that, damn, then I think you got your person. Chances are you probably haven't been meeting all those. So that's my take.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to add, I wish I had them written down, but I'm going to add a layer onto all four of your points, just a couple key things that I have noticed, because I did all those things too. So they're going to be out of order, but one, side hustle is two things that I see. One, if it's a business, you're going to develop business acumen. Like, I understand I read a P&L because I sold stuff on Amazon and did 6 figures in revenue on Amazon in 2013, 14, and 15. And so I understood those different things when I went into the venture company, and then they published the P&L on a monthly basis before they were going into IPO mode, and they had to be confidential about that stuff. But I got to see the P&L. And then when I saw the P&L, I got to look at it, and I was like, net loss 31 million. What is this? And then start to look at, and then you pull the line items back and you're like, oh, that's where that money's going. Business acumen, really big one from a side hustle. The second one is that if it's a side hustle, normally you got to be scrappy because it's your own money. And so when you're scrappy, you get forced to, one, be creative, two, to figure out the shit that actually works. And so those two things are really interesting. On the agency side, I think it's a little bit about how, like, I've built my thing, but like, I feel like the experience with a lot of different companies that sell a lot of different types of products to a lot of different personas and have preferences to certain different channels and different budgets gives you a broad stroke of experience that you just can't replicate in-house. What else did you have? Those two.
I've got another good one, and this is perhaps the most, I would say, underappreciated of the bunch. And that is a candidate who has some type of creative outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who practices the arts in some form or fashion.
Got it.
So whether it's a musical instrument, painting, even if they speak a foreign language, that's usually a very, very good sign of someone that is able to kind of use both sides of their brain. Like, it just kind of correlates, in my experience, with people that have higher levels of IQ, marketing, business acumen. Like, you train the brain to do all these different things, and the brain becomes smarter. As you put it through the Olympics, more, it just makes more sense. The muscle gets trained, so they're used to switching on and off, solving complex problems, that sort of thing.
There's one thing that I've been thinking about a lot. Kind of goes on the whole theory of the T-shaped marketer. 2 points on this. One is that oftentimes the T-shaped marketer gets so boxed into whatever they're doing that they become the I-shaped marketer, that they only know how to do that one thing. They don't understand the other channels. They can't elevate to the actual business level. They just know how to do technical SEO or whatever it is, or run AdWords and get conversions. That's all they know. And so it's a huge risk, especially when you start working at bigger organizations early in your career, that you get very sucked into one little thing. So I like that. That kind of goes back into the startup experience. In startups, you're going to do a lot of different things. And then the last thing that I've been thinking about on this point, which it's going to be interesting because I've literally never said this, and I think you find it interesting, is that I think we need to change the idea of the T-shaped marketer to the chameleon. There's not a shape anymore. It's the chameleon. You need to consistently move and change what you're actually doing based on what's happening. Right. And so, like, it's super interesting,
it's so
right?
true.
Because as things
true.
continue to evolve, like, almost that you need to evolve in your specialty.
So true. Oh my God. So this is maybe one of the most important points of the night. Let's say you're great at SEO, but this month sales is for some reason on a shortage in pipeline, because they're just missing they're swinging and missing. So you need extra added lead flow in order to overcompensate for the missed opportunities, right? And they have to hit their number at the end of this month, because that marks the end of the quarter, and you just have to hit it. Otherwise, price shares are going to go down and you're fucked. right? So if you're someone that's only good at SEO, you're going to have no idea how to go about closing that gap that has to happen by the end of the month, because SEO doesn't do that. You know, it does that over time, incrementally, and, you know, at a certain pace. So now you have to tap into your other channel expertise in order to figure out how to make that happen. So you have to think about things like conversion rate optimization. And if you're someone doing AdWords and you have no idea how to, you know, optimize a landing page, or at least suggest a different variation that could win, and you don't have any real insight about the customer or the traffic, you don't listen to sales calls, you don't look at the back-end metrics, you're literally just a bidding machine, that means that you're not going to have a job much longer, because those jobs are getting all automated by Google anyway. Like no one's really doing manual bidding that much. You're training the Google algorithm on your own set of keywords. Like it's machine learning. So you don't need a manual bidding machine to tweak the maximum bid up this day and lower that day, because, you know, Wednesdays, you know, there's more traffic, so you want to bid more. Like Google can figure that out. We don't need you. So be useful and learn other areas, and don't become an I-shaped marketer. Otherwise you will probably become, you know, extinct at some point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. Cool. Well, appreciate the people that stuck around. Gee, it's been really awesome to think about how much better our relationship is over the past 6 months that we've done this, to think about how this whole show has evolved since we started it kind of out of thin air, to think about all the exciting things that you have going on in your life. It's just been, and to all the people that have been joining us for so long, it's been really awesome. And so I'm going to kind of like close out my part of this will close out season 1, and I'll let you you finish it up here. Appreciate you, man.
Nah, man, thank you. Wow, guys, you know, 6 months, that's a long time. Tell you the truth, I haven't even been in a serious relationship with a girl for 6 months in a really long time. So 6 months commitment is a big deal in the world of G. So thank you to you guys for continuing to come back. I even stopped promoting and I feel bad. I just keep forgetting and I'm like busy and shit, but you guys just keep coming back, keep showing love. You know, I really appreciate that a lot. I was once you know, a failing marketer that didn't really know much, and now people are looking forward to what I have to say, which I never thought would be the case. So I appreciate you guys tremendously, and you know, I'll be back, I'm sure, in the future. And you know, Chris, it's been awesome, you know, ranting and bantering with you. Of course, it's been great sharing perspectives. Like I think we complement each other quite well in a lot of the things that we do and a lot of the ways we think. I personally have gotten smarter, you know, working with you and debating on these subjects. It's given me fresh perspectives, kept me on my A game, you know, iron sharpens iron kind of thing. And to everyone that keeps coming back and you know, interacting and engaging, you know, appreciate it. And just can't thank you guys enough. I hope you all, you know, have a great rest of 2020. Be safe. You know, we're still in a pandemic, so, you know, be careful. And I wish you all the best, you know, health, prosperity, great career success to everyone. You know, heading into 2021, it's going to be an exciting future for growth marketing, for demand gen, for everybody on this call who keeps showing up. Chris, for you, Refine Labs, you know, for me, Nextiva, shout out to just everyone looking to get better. And, you know, let always the iron sharpen the iron, guys. Let's just keep doing that, and we'll be in good shape.
Right on. So looking forward to having you back again, G, and hope you all have a great night. Just to clarify on the question, we will be back for episode 1 of season 2 next Tuesday, same time. All right, everyone.
Right on. Peace out, everybody.
Talk to you all later. Have a great night.
Peace.
Peace.